here at Gatorback. How's they all going to shape up in moto number 2? The gate is down. We're into turn number 1. And who's grabbing the early lead here this time? It looks like Natalie and Byrd side by side out of the gate one more time. And it's Joe Byrd grabbing his second consecutive pole shot here at Gatorback. And that looks like Natalie back in the number 2 spot as we make our way across the top of the Gators. Back and look who's back in the number 3 spot for a second consecutive moto start. It's the number 4 of Tim Farr. But up front, it's Byrd and Natalie picking up where they left off before Joe Byrd broke the shock in moto number 1. Looks like Matt White, strong start, back in the number 4 position aboard the number 32 Yamaha as he is off to a blazing fast start here in moto number 2. This is going to better him, obviously, if he can hold on to it in the overall, if he can run consistent here in moto number 2. But there's Byrd, there's Natalie, there is Farr, there is Matt White. Behind him, Digger Doug Gust, followed up by Jeremiah Jones. So Doug Gust back in the number 5 spot. Started out where he started out in moto number 1. Had to work his way up into a second place position finish for that first moto. See if he can get it done here. 2 motos in a row. Right now, though, it is Joe Byrd. Looks like Byrd may be beginning to stretch things out just a little bit. It is still Natalie back in second. Still Farr in third. No changes as White, Gust, and Jones run 4, 5, and 6 here on the opening lap of this Gatorback second moto. Joe Byrd still out front and still leading the freight train, if you will, of all of our pro riders as we head around for lap number 1 complete. Byrd, Natalie, Farr, Matt White, Doug Gust, and again, just outside the top 5 in that 6th place position is the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones. Big air by Joe Byrd as he flies high past the finish line through that whoop section. Closing in on him, though, the number 13 of John Natalie. It looks like Natalie is trying to mount some sort of a challenge early on here in this second moto. Natalie realizing he does not have to beat Joe Byrd to take the overall win here today. But as much as anything, these riders do not like to come in a second place position and will not even begin to start thinking about anything like that until the end of the moto and the closing laps before they start assessing that type of situation. Right now, John Natalie knows that he wants to get out front, and now he's trying as he goes underneath Joe Byrd on the Gator's tail. He will make the pass, and John Natalie moves into the lead. Joe Byrd drops off to second place. As we were saying, he needs to put as much distance between himself and the rest of the pack back there if he wants to keep from tightening up before this race is all said and done. Here comes Byrd, challenging right back on board the number 7. He's not let John Natalie get by that easily. Back in the number 3 spot, still Tim Farr holding on aboard the number 4. Top of the hill now, it is Natalie and Byrd wheel to wheel. Byrd is right there ready to strike right back. He may be able to force Natalie into some sort of mistake. Matt White drops off to a 6th place position now as Doug Gust moves up the 4th. Jeremiah Jones rounds out the top 5. But the battle is out front for the lead. That's where everybody's watching. Here comes Byrd right back on Natalie. He bumps him there. Natalie and Byrd side by side into the turn. Who's going to come out on top? It looks like the inside line advantage works best for John Natalie that time around. And Joe Byrd falls back and fades back a little further in the number 2 spot, but don't count him out. He's going to be striking right back, trying to challenge John Natalie. He wants to make a statement out here because he knows that moto number 1, he ended up finishing things well before he was ready to do that. You know, that's a frustration that Joe Byrd probably cannot stand to swallow at this point, so he has got to try to retaliate here in this second moto. If nothing else, personal redemption. Farr still back in 3rd, Gust to 4th. 5th spot still Jeremiah Jones as the 2 Yoshimura Suzuki riders are going at it. Jones trying to go around Digger Doug Gust, but Gust not letting it happen this time around. 7 of Joe Byrd still cannot get around as we head back down into the Gator pit toward the end of this lap, toward the hairpin turn now. There goes Natalie. Here comes Joe Byrd. Joe Byrd is not done yet. And again, as we are getting later and later in the moto, is John Natalie beginning to slow down? Is that why we're starting to see the gap between 2nd and 3rd tighten up the way that it is and allowing both Digger Doug Gust and Jeremiah Jones to move up into that mix for the battle for the number 1 position? We are on lap number 7 now. As you can see, the hand signs, the lead is not very big for John Natalie as the gap is closing up. There is Tim Farr still in the number 5 ride out there for the number 4. Again, good to see Farr out here and running so strong, especially on a rough racetrack, what we're looking at here. Look how rough this second moto is for those riders. Regardless of whether you're coming off back surgery or not, that has got to take a toll on a man's body out there on the race course. You better have hope that your suspension is working at its peak performance on a race day like today. There goes Byrd still trying to out-jump John Natalie on that uphill jump section. Meanwhile, Digger Doug and Jeremiah are right there in the number 3 spot, so it looks like about as much of a gap between second and third as first and second. But now Byrd wicking it up just a little bit, as is John Natalie, as he's feeling the pressure from Byrd. Byrd trying to go to the outside, sweeping back down to the inside, side by side. He actually goes on the outside and makes the pass. Joe Byrd moves into the number 1 spot now, and John Natalie drops off to second. Natalie could be in trouble here. Let's see if Gust can take advantage of it as he smells blood now, and he's going to try to strike into the hairpin turn. Look at that. Look how tight this battle is for first place late in the moto. Moto number 2, and here comes Natalie striking right back. He's not going to be able to make the pass, but look at the air that the 55 of Doug Gust is getting over that finish line jump. That could come into play later in this race as he and Natalie are battling it out for the number 2 spot now. And look at this. It does come into play this time around. The momentum carries him into the number 2 spot. And now our Parts Unlimited leaderboard gets a little bit of a mix-up here as Joe Byrd in the lead. Doug Gust in second, Natalie in third place position with Jeremiah Jones back in the number 4 spot. And wow, what a leaderboard as we are now past the halfway point in the home stretch of this race. Dustin Wimmer back in the number 11 spot aboard the number 191 after running so strong in the qualifiers in Saturday racing action here at Gatorback. Lap number 8. Look at this. Now it looks like the number 7 of Joe Byrd is feeling the pressure from Digger Doug Gust, number 55. Gust wants to get out front and take the win here. If he does take the win in moto number 2, a 2-1 will score him an overall score of 3 and give him the win for the day. Meanwhile, look at this. Natalie back in third. Here comes Jeremiah Jones from 4th place. He is challenging now. And let's start looking at the map and start doing the calculations here to see how this will all start to break down. Now, if Digger Doug can get out front, obviously he's going to take the win. I don't think he even has to make the pass into the number 1 spot. But Jeremiah Jones just made the pass for 3rd as John Natalie fades back to a 4th place position. And it looks like the fatigue factor has came into play one more time in this 3rd race of the 2006 ITP Moose Racing Series. Doesn't look like much of a fatigue factor right now for the number 7 of Joe Byrd. This looks like a more hunger tactic by the number 55, but Digger Doug Gust is what's going to rocket him into the number 1 spot. He does it in the same place he gets around Joe Byrd, same place he got around John Natalie. A little bit different, but the same area of the racetrack as he's able to set it up 2 different ways. So now it is Gust out front, Byrd in second, Jeremiah Jones in third. In the 4th place position is the number 13 of John Natalie. Byrd trying to retaliate now as we check him out on the tip of the Gator's tail. It's a 3-way battle still with Jeremiah Jones back in the number 3 spot. So don't count this race over just yet. Gust may be out front, but as hungry and as aggressive as Byrd has been here in this second moto, and as good as Byrd has been doing throughout the entire 2006 season, Byrd might be able to come back. But Jeremiah Jones, the unknown factor here in the 06 season, and whenever it all began, a lot of folks expected Jeremiah Jones to be the champion and the man in the number 1 position of points at this juncture in the series, but that is not the case. Jeremiah Jones is not even in a top 10 position as he has had basically 2 really bad races. He DNFing in motos in both particular races, and it's keeping him out of the top 20. And I know it's also playing havoc on his mind as the race wears on. But right now, I know that Jeremiah Jones is thinking, get around the number 7 of Joe Byrd. If nothing else, show these folks how well this Suzuki can run. It's a brand new machine. 3 races out of the box now for Jeremiah Jones and both Digger Doug Gust. And it looks like Gust has not had any problems out of his whatsoever. The only problems that Gust has had this year is getting together with other riders, in particular down in Texas. Dustin Wimmer, moto number 2 start. He had to start from back at nearly dead last. Look at this. Jeremiah Jones going on the number 7 of Joe Byrd now. Is he going to be able to get around? I know Joe Byrd is extremely hungry, and he wants to rebound back from that 15th place finish. Every point counts to Joe Byrd right now because he holds on to a points lead. He knows he's not going to be on the podium today, so everything that he can do, he's digging down and trying to fight for everything that he can to keep from losing that points lead, any more points than he has to in the overall championship points race. It's still early in the season, but you've got to have strategy in order to win a championship. And right now, Joe Byrd's strategy is race as hard as you possibly can. Redemption time here in Moto 2 at Gatorback. And we can see that Joe Byrd obviously deserved to be a part of the top 5, if not even a podium position finish in Moto number 1. But the broken shock is what kept him out of it. He had the number 1 spot locked down with John Natalie on his rear wheel until the rear shock problems popped up. And when they did, he went from first place all the way back to 15th before the checker flag finally ever flew. But right now it is Digger Doug, a second place finish in Moto number 1 and a first place finish here in Moto number 2. Could give him the win. Here comes Jones. Jones is going to try to make the pass over the finish line jump. Is he going to be able to get it done the same way that Gust did? Let's see. Jones, nope, does not have the line on Joe Byrd that Doug Gust did only a few short laps ago. But Jones trying to get it out of the next turn. But Joe Byrd knows what Jeremiah Jones's plan was. He saw him working him a couple of laps prior to this, so he knew what Jones was setting him up for. There's fourth place ride, and then Natalie now by himself back in the number 4 position. He has absolutely no competition at this point. As this moto wears on, if he continues to fade back like that, we're going to see 6th place on up. Even got riders like Travis Kane and Travis Spader, Duncan Berger, Lou Berg, and the boys trying to get around the number 13 of John Natalie, which would be a huge boost of confidence for each and every one of those riders, especially as dominant as Natalie was only a year ago. To see that they've been able to rise to the occasion and challenge the defending champion would be a good boost for each and every one of those folks' program. Up front, a 3-way battle. Still Gust, Byrd, and Jones as we are working our way home toward the checkers and the conclusion of the second moto of racing. And it is going to be Gust, like we said, taking the win if he can hold on to it. Looks like maybe Jeremiah Jones will still can try to pressure the number 7 of Joe Byrd, but I don't think he's going to try to put any pressure on the number 55 of Doug Gust, because he knows as well as anyone out there that Doug Gust deserves this win. It was a hard-fought battle for him, and he's come up short already one time this year down in Texas, like we said, with that second moto faux pas. But he has come back to redeem himself here at Gatorback and look like maybe ride to an overall win here today, as John Natalie, who took the moto number 1 win, is running back in a 4th place position at the checkers. Digger Doug Gust, followed by the number 7 of Joe Byrd, in 3rd place Jeremiah Jones, as he gets the best finish so far in this 2006 season. But all spoils go to our champion here today at Gatorback, Doug Gust.
Oh, that was tough, man. The competition is just unbelievable. That was a hard one. I worked for that. Yeah, I think I came out 5th and just, picked some good lines. And, boy, the Suzuki LTR 450 put me to the front. Yoshimir Dunlop tires. Couldn't have done it without them. My mechanics, Paul and Ryan, for everybody that's helped me out, the Fox shocks, woo, made this bike work great for me.
Doug Gust gets the overall with a 2-1. John Natalie, a 1-4. It's good enough for 2nd overall. Joe Havistow with a 3-7 gets 3rd place overall. Matt White rounds out 4th with 6 and 8. And Joe Byrd at 15-2. Good enough.